Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D.
Brief.
This is the D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast that is for and about Detroit artists and entertainers. I'm Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And on the show today, we're going to talk about the art of photography. Mm-hmm. We need to talk about this because everybody thinks they're a photographer now.
Exactly.
They've got a phone in their pocket.
Yep, the phone's right there.
We'll do weekend recommendations as well. Our guest joining us today to talk about photography is a photographer herself. She is also the founder and director of the Norwest Gallery of Art, which is over there on Grand River. And she is on the Entertainment Commission for the City of Detroit. Welcome back, Asia Hamilton.
Hey, thank you.
So we're going to get into all of this today, but before we do that, we got some trivia to get to.
Oh, snap.
All right, Becky, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so my theme all week is public art in Detroit, those recognizable pieces that everybody knows. So you know that giant mural that you can see from 75 on the Russell Industrial Center?
Yes.
It's a lion with wings.
Yes, okay. I love that one.
Yes, that's the chimera mural. And chimera means it's a mythical animal made up of parts of other animals. And so that was painted by Kobe Solomon. He's an African-American Detroit artist. And the concept in his mind represents Detroit's 4 major sports teams, as well as Detroit's artistic community. And it's 8,750 square feet. Wow.
That's big.
Yeah, largest.
That's a lot of crayons.
Yes, largest. So it took him quite a while to do that. So he also did a mural more recently in 2015 for the Murals in the Market Festival there in Eastern Market. My question to you is, what is the subject of that mural? Here's the choices. A tiger, J. Dilla's Donuts, a fox and a bird, or bees in a beehive.
Run through those again.
A tiger, J. Dilla's Donuts, a fox and a bird, or bees in a beehive.
Well, it can't be a tiger because once you've combined a tiger with 4 other animals, you can't go back. That's a step backwards, I would think.
I would say a tiger.
You would say a tiger?
Yeah, because a lot of art.
Just to be opposite of
just
Seth.
doing the most.
Just because I'm usually wrong, so it's usually wise to go in the other direction.
I can see both schools of
sometimes
thought.
artists, like, they have, like, that might be their thing to do tigers, or it might be their thing to do something specific.
And think about if you walked around the murals in the market, do they sound familiar?
What?
Wait, yeah. What was that, a hint? I missed that.
No, I'm just asking. If you've walked around Eastern Market, this one is pretty visible. So if any sound kind of familiar. I
want to go with J. Dilla's Donuts, but I don't know if that's right.
I know who did that one.
Yeah, me
you
too.
Did? Well, I guess I'm out then. Hey, wait, was it the same guy who did the one on the Russell Industrial Center complex?
It was not Kobe Solomon. So there you go. I'm giving you a hint. It is not B.
All right, I'm going with Tiger then. Fine, I'll get on board.
So you're both with Tiger?
Yeah.
I'm with Tiger.
Sorry.
It was the fox.
No, it's the bees.
Oh,
It's a queen bee. It's really cool. On the old Busy Bee Hardware on the corner of Gratiot and Russell.
Oh.
Wow.
So same artist.
Have to check it out.
I might check that one out too. I remember seeing that.
My lessons were sitting out on that lawn in front of Motown.
Detroit History Tours.
Detroit Film Festival.
Shakespeare in Detroit.
Ford Arts Beats and Eats.
The Heidelberg Project in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit Grand Prix.
Valentine Distilling Company in Ferndale.
Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak.
The Hamtramck Music Fest. Motor City Pride, and you're listening to
The Debrief.
I listen to the Debrief podcast, The Debrief, just religiously, The Debrief.
It's absolutely amazing.
So, Asia, I got to step it back. So first and foremost, you're an artist.
Yes.
Before you ever thought about owning a gallery. So photography is your medium.
Yes.
And then I've seen some of your mixed media pieces too, which are really incredible, where you collage parts of photos with other things. But I think something that gets lost is everybody thinks there's a photographer now because we have these pretty powerful phones that take good pictures. So what would you say makes photography art?
Oh.
What takes it to that
What takes it to that level?
Yeah.
A photographer, a skilled photographer, knows their composition. They know how to capture light properly. They know how to Like if you're doing portraiture, you know how to evoke an emotion out of someone and get them to, move to your rhythm. So those are the types of things that, if you're thinking about just cell phone photography, that would be the difference between a skilled photographer who knows what they're doing using their cell phone to take pictures as opposed to someone just taking a snapshot.
So can we take those one by one and go through those in a little more detail? I mean, when you say composition, what exactly are we talking about?
We're talking about the setup of the actual photograph itself. Like, if I'm photographing a group of people, it's how I'm arranging them in the image. Mm-hmm. So, or just one person is how I'm arranging them in the image. Or the composition could be a series of buildings and how they, the angles that you get from it. So, you want to hear some composition?
Yeah. Tricks.
Y'all gonna make me tell y'all the secret.
Yeah.
Not all, just a couple.
Don't worry, my cell phone's not that good.
So we got rule of thirds. That's my favorite one, actually.
Oh,
because if you suck as a photographer, if you do rule of thirds with somebody, you're going to automatically have dope photos.
Better, yeah.
So rule of thirds is when your subject is either all the way to the right of the picture or all the way to the left of the picture, and you leave a negative space there. And usually that's used in advertisement. They use rule of thirds a lot. You'll see that because they use that negative space for, their graphics or
words
text or whatever. So rule of thirds is one. Another one would be symmetry. That's that's when your subject is, when the image is balanced on both sides. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same exact thing. Like if I'm shooting you straight on and you're centered, it doesn't necessarily have to be that type of symmetry where it's the exact same on each side. It could just have the same amount of weight. So if I have 10 cans stacked up on one side and 10 chairs stacked up on the other side, as long as they're the same weight across the board, then you have a symmetrical image. Okay.
Nice.
Photography-wise, all right?
Yes.
Maybe not mathematically.
Right. No, I'm following.
Yep.
And then symmetry, rule of thirds. Then you have depth of field. Depth of field is when your subject is in focus and then everything behind it is blurry. I know you've all seen that.
Oh, and now the new portrait mode.
Yeah, the new
iPhone.
portrait mode.
Yes, yep.
Fakers.
I know.
Cheaters.
Totally.
Yeah, that's usually done with your aperture or your f-stop. So, the fact that your phone is doing the portrait mode is amazing, these days.
Yeah.
What we can do with our phones is just ridiculous. Photography, period, is like magic, period.
So can you use composition to evoke a certain emotion, for example? I mean, can you use it to...
Oh, yeah.
Give me an example of how you could do that.
All right. So just say that, I want to make somebody look very strong and powerful. I would shoot them. I would get down low and shoot up at them. Mm-hmm. You want to make them look small? You do the opposite. You shoot down on them.
We were just talking about this. So that's why women like their photos taken from up high.
Yeah, because we look... slimmer.
Right.
Get that thing up there.
But the guys want it from down below so they look
so that they can
stronger.
look, stronger. So, that's a way that you can, evoke an emotion out of somebody with that. Yeah.
So what's your aim personally as a personal photographer? Like what would you say your major themes or mission are in photos that you seek out to take?
My imagery is very real. I don't use a lot of filters. A lot of people use buku filters, and then people just look like superstars.
Statues. And,
I like people to, I like to see a pimple every now and then. I just want people to look normal. But I take real photos of people. It is those in between moments that I capture that always be the best shots.
What do you mean by in between?
The in between, so it's the photo that when they're not really trying to pose.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones because even in a model, like I shot a model the other day, and there is a difference between photographing a model and then photographing just a regular person. Mm-hmm. The beauty is to be able to make that regular person look like a model.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when they, that's you can make those people look like that when you're shooting them naturally. instead of them posing. It's that in between, when they're smiling or they laugh or you say something. It's that moment when you shoot that photo is when they look like they're looking great.
You see the essence of them.
Yeah, you see
more
the
so.
essence of them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
You talked about lighting.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about how lighting's used and, again, how it can be used for certain emotions or some of the things that you can do.
Yeah. There's so many various different types of lighting. You got, we're just going to go through some fluorescent. You have tungsten, which is, your regular your bulb, which has a red or orange tone to it. Fluorescent lights like these lights here. We got you have your flash, and your flash could be a strobe. That means that it could be like a flash in the studio. That's a strobe. And then you have your natural light. So all of these different types of lighting, they have a different kind of tone to them. So your tungsten light is a warm tone. So that's going to make you look warm and cozy. The fluorescent light is going to be a hard light on you, but still soft because of the bulb it is. Then you have your flash, which is hard light, like, very harsh shadows, unless you, put a filter over it, like a diffuser. And then you have your natural light. So if you want somebody to look scary, you don't use any type of diffusion. You just give a lot of shadow. I don't necessarily want to say it's scary. It's drama.
Yeah.
If you want to, have a little drama, then you would do a side light, and that would give them these harsh shadows, and you'll get a lot of drama with that. I love a little drama. Okay, not the drama though.
The good drama.
The light
good drama.
Yeah.
Yep. And then if you want someone to just be soft and, you want to just get, just like an overall light, you can do like just a nice diffuse light right in front, If you just bring it around just to the side, just a little bit of shadow, then, then it starts to get a little bit more depth. I don't like to use a lot of lights. People use like 4 lights. It's not necessary. I like to create a mood, and the less light you have, the more you can
get moody.
Yeah, you can get moody, and you can manipulate the mood better with just more than with less lighting.
So your stuff. You went to school, and I want to be a photographer. Yes. So what's your next step, like, to make this into an actual career? Like, what would be your advice for people wanting to actually be a working artist and support themselves?
Photography is about, you got to go get it, I went to school. I got my degree in fine art photography. And I remember my senior year, I had a panic attack. Because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, I'm an artist photographer. I'm not like in journalism. I'm not like in
wedding photos.
Yeah, like this is not. And so I'm like, what do? They're like, just go and show your resume and ask around. And that's one of the reasons why I opened my own art gallery, because I didn't really get a step-by-step on this is what you're going to do in order to be a working artist, and then being a Black woman in that field, it made it even more difficult because it was like, well, I just didn't have those mentors. I didn't have those mentors to kind of to get me through it. And so, and I didn't come from an art background either. So I couldn't have my family to tell me about it. My dad owned a beauty salon. Yeah. Right. They were just like, just do your best, you can do it. So I just had to just really get out there and hustle. I remember when I got the job working at the Detroit Free Press, and I didn't even know, coming from Chicago, I didn't know like how prestigious the internship at the Detroit Free Press was. I didn't. I just was like, I'm going to stalk these people. I need a job. I need to pay bills. And that's what I'm going to do. And so I looked in the newspaper and I found Nancy Andrews' name. She was the director of photography at that time. And I called her every day. I left messages every day until one day she called me. She said, I decided that I needed to call you back because I think, she said, because I don't think you would have stopped.
Right. She's like, if nothing else, just to get rid of you.
Yeah, right. And she'll, so, you're that ambitious, you come in, I want to see your portfolio. So when I came in and I showed her my portfolio, she liked my work and she said, well, we don't have anything available for you. And I was like, dang. She said, but we're gonna make a space for you. And they gave me an internship at the Detroit Free Press. And that was my first experience in journalism, as a journalism photographer. And I thought I was pretty damn good.
I'm sure you were, honestly.
What's the difference between being a journalist photographer and being
fine arts?
Fine arts photographer.
I'm going with concept and meaning and, trying to convey a message. And I mean, actually all of those things go into journalism, but, journalism is about storytelling. So, you want to be able to tell a story with your imagery. You also had to be able to go anywhere and do anything, and that thing wasn't my thing. I hated breaking news. It was just it was traumatic. Having to go into maybe somebody's house was burnt down or somebody got shot or killed or something like that. I just couldn't. It was difficult to try to cover those things for me. So I was a chicken.
In the newspaper business, if it bleeds, it leads, and so that's what you've got to be covering.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's the drama.
That's the drama.
Yeah.
Right. So I decided not to even continue that. I went to the party mode. I started working at Hour magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I was working the night hour at that time, just shooting all their parties, and that was exciting until you get tired of that.
Sure.
You mentioned mentors. Are there more now than there were when you were coming up?
Oh, man. One of the main things, I just want to say something about when I was in high school. I was a part of a program called Focus on the Mission, and it was a photography project with Focus Hope. It was the very first edition of that project that went on for years until maybe like last year. It was the last year that they did it. And I had so many mentors. I had like Hugh Granum. I had, just everybody. It's so many people I can't even think of it right now because there's so many people that really amazing photographers that were mentoring the kids at that time. And so, they were my mentors in high school, and then I went away to school. I went to Chicago, and so I had to fend for myself. I didn't have that nest anymore. And then when I got back here and I started working at the Free Press, Hugh Granum was at the Free Press, and Archie was at the Free Press, and it was another woman who was she was the editor. I can't remember her name, but they all kind of brought me in again.
Nice, yeah. It's important.
They were definitely supportive. And so...
So now you're getting to be that for the next generation.
Yes, and I genuinely love it.
Yeah,
I started teaching middle and high school students before I got into teaching adults. And it was, I love it. I love it because they don't see themselves as artists, and I'm like, you're the dopest artist. And I got some really harsh treatment, and just in the field, like they just say that, you got to have thick skin, and I don't know, I'm kind of coddling my students,
Nice. All right, let's get into our weekend recommendations here. Becky, let's start with you. What's going on?
Okay, this one's for you, Seth. I know you're just going to love it. So next week is Punchki Day, Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Have you had these in your few
I have.
years?
They're just giant donuts.
Giant donuts. It's the Polish tradition, especially in Hamtramck is where you got to get them. So what better way to scope out all the bakeries in Hamtramck than by doing a 5K run?
I can think of lots of better ways.
Just run it off.
But make some space in your belly for all the donuts you're going to eat next week. So it's put on by Tour de Trois. It's the Punchki Run. So you do the 5K through Hamtramck, which Hamtramck, if you haven't heard this phrase, is the world in 2 square miles, because that's the size of it, and it's such diversity there. So you can check out all the things along the way, have a punchki and a beer at the end, and then feel like you earned it.
If I skip the beer, can I just walk it?
I'm sure you could walk. Yeah, I'm sure you could walk. You do whatever you want. So that's on Saturday, February 22nd in the morning. And I wanted to let you know, if you want to register online, it closes tomorrow, the 20th. But you can also just show up and run too.
All right, Asia, what should people do this weekend?
People should come to Norwest Gallery of Art in North Rosedale and see the Hierarchy exhibit, which is a hair-raising experience. You just got to come check it out. We have some amazing artists from Detroit. We actually have artists from all over the globe, from like Berlin to South Africa, from Dallas, Detroit. Dallas, Detroit. There is a Detroit, Dallas, but that's not what you meant. She's from Dallas, Texas.
Got it.
And Chicago. So we have other artists, but I just want to send some shouts out to like some of the amazing Detroit artists there. Like, you know, Sabrina Nelson, Aaron Whitaker, myself, April Ship, Deja, Mulaney. Who else is in there? And it's somebody else. And then Nicole, my hairdresser, she's in this exhibit as well. She made these huge, fabulous Afro wigs, which are like amazing. They're really dope.
Now, I saw a couple of your photos that you had taken, these really striking photos of women with a really large afros. So those are the wigs she made?
Yes.
And then you took the photos. They are stunning.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration. It's fun because, you know, my hairdresser is like, she's officially family. I've been knowing her for 15 years. She's been doing my hair for 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, that would be...
So, like, we've done shoots together before. That's how we met. We met on a photo shoot. But, like, this was our first time, like, really, like, collaborating, like, just me and her. So that was fun.
So people can go... What are your hours?
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday is from 12 to 7 p.m. And then on Sundays, it's from 12 to 4 p.m. And again, we're on a Grand River in North Rosedale Park, right next to Page's Bookstore. And if you want to find out more information, you can just go to our website, which is norwestgallery.com.
But make it a point to come the next 2 weekends.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Hey, I want to recommend Detroit Roller Derby. If you haven't gone and seen this at the Masonic Temple, you should absolutely go. It's amazing. They're doing a Derby doubleheader on Saturday, February 22nd. And I don't understand the rules. When I watch this, it doesn't matter. It is a brutal sport.
It's a bloodbath.
I would get killed if I were doing this. There's no way. These women are absolutely amazing. And part of the fun is the names of the teams. So on the 22nd, what's happening is you've got the Devil's Night Dames taking on the D-Funk All-Stars and the Detroit Pissed-Offs.
Love that.
I do too.
Taking on the Grand Prix Madonnas.
Oh, perfect.
That sounds exciting.
So go check it out. Asia, thank you so much for joining us again today, and you're going to be hanging out with us for a couple more days. The website, once again, is norwestgallery.com for anybody who wants more information on the gallery and wants to go check it out. Also want to remind you that we have an Alexa skill. If you have Alexa somewhere in your home, just say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast, and you can listen to this podcast. Becky, before we get out of here, let's hear another song.
Yeah, so I want to remind all the musicians out there, if you're local and you have original songs, please submit them to be potentially played on the show. Just go to thedebriefdetroit.com and there's a handy submit button right on the homepage. So today's song is called Still Waiting by Harlow. He's an indie hip-hop electronic artist, great sound. He recently moved back to Detroit from Chicago, so you got that in common. His current solo project is to release a new song every week for the whole year of 2020.
Wow.
And so far, he's doing it. So he was producing music for a few years and had this sort of like, I'm always waiting for the next thing to happen kind of feeling. And then it occurred to him, hey, I'm kind of loving what I'm doing. I'm enjoying the process. So what am I waiting for? I'm already where I'm supposed to be. So that's what this song is about, called Still Waiting.
Perfect. Until tomorrow, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you. Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you. Tell me why I'm waiting for you. Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you. Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you.
You're not here, but I still keep wishing. Oh, don't you let me down.
Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you. Tell me why I'm waiting. Tell me why I'm waiting for you.
Tell me what I'm waiting for. Tell me what I'm waiting for. Still keep waiting. Don't you let me down.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.